Hello, in this video, I'm going to give a brief overview of neurons. So a neuron is a nerve cell. Those two terms are used synonymously. A neuron is a basic component of the nervous system. So these are cells that are electrically excitable, meaning that they're capable of generating an action potential or an impulse to communicate with other neurons and with effectors, meaning muscles or glands, things that will respond in the motor system to nerve impulse. So structure of a neuron. So there are many different types of neurons that have different structures, different numbers of dendrites. And so there are lots of different types of neurons, but generally speaking, most have these three parts. First is the cell body, that's also referred to as a soma. That's the part of the cell that contains the nucleus. Then there are usually dendrites that extend from the cell body, and their job is really to receive transmission or to receive information from other neurons. So there will be other neighboring neurons that are sending impulses and connecting to transmit to this neuron, like in our picture here. And so the dendrites would be where that transmission is received. Then they have an axon. So that's one long projection leaving the cell body, but axons will usually have branches. And so they can have only a few branches. They could have thousands of branches, depending on the type of neuron. So the axon is where the message is sent. So the signal is sent down through the axon, out through its branches, and then it's sent out through the axon terminals, the ends of the axons, to provide the signal transmission to whatever it's sending that signal to. So it could be to the next neuron in the pathway, or it could be to an effector like a muscle or a gland. And then most axons are covered with a myelin sheath that helps to speed transmission of neural signals. So functions of neurons. So neurons are either sensory neurons, motor neurons, or interneurons. So sensory neurons are also called afferent neurons, and they are receiving information from the periphery or from anywhere in the body about what is happening internally or externally. So the internal environment of the body or the external environment. So we're collecting information about what's happening and sending that up to the central nervous system to keep the brain informed, essentially, of what is going on in and around the body. Motor neurons or efferent neurons are going in the opposite direction. They're sending neural impulses from the CNS, the central nervous system, out to the effectors, meaning muscles and glands. Effectors are the organs in the body that are capable of receiving motor commands from the central nervous system and taking some kind of action. So all three types of muscle are effectors. And then both types of glands, endocrine and exocrine, are also effectors. So those are structures in the body that receive motor commands from the central nervous system and then act on them. Interneurons are neurons that function to connect between sensory and motor neurons. So interneurons are located entirely within the central nervous system, so meaning the brain and the spinal cord. So we have many interneurons in the brain and in the spinal cord, and they're forming connections between the pathways that are going up, the sensory neurons, and the pathways that are coming back down, the motor neurons. And they're forming all sorts of pathways within the brain that are responsible for cognition, and all sorts of, the thousands of functions that our brain is capable of executing. Those are all done by interneurons. All right, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you for the next one.